Well, front to us a son was born and a child was given.
I want to ask you a question. Have you got your book? Haile Selassie's Ethiopia Volume 1, The Rise of the Priest Warrior King. I've read the book in its entirety, and I must say it's very inspirational, very informative, and very historical, right?
Them call him Rastafari. When he was born, rain fall from sky. Them call him Rastafari. When he was grown in airplanes he fly. They call him Rastafari. Lion break the chain, weep not, don't cry. Them call him Rastafari. Read your Revelation chapter 5 verse 5. Then born near the city of Harar, the inspiration for Bob Marley's guitar. People crowd him like some big superstar. It no matter if England. Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice.
Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I. Glory and honor in the name of his chosen queen, Empress Waziri Menen. My name is Kwasi Bansu, aka Dejazmatch Kwasi, aka Ras Kwasi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Panafrican Happy Man. I'm an entertainment attorney, I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an actionist, and right now I am the host of the Lion Voice. Welcome to Lion Voice. This is episode 54, and this episode we return to Ethiopian history. I'm going to talk about one of the great priestly warrior kings of Ethiopian history, as written in my book, my first book, Haile Selassie's Ethiopia, The Rise of the Priestly Warrior Kings. It's available. There's a link in the description. You can also go to the website and purchase directly from the website. And we give thanks for all of the people who have bought the book so far, who have sent pictures. You know, a lot of people have been sending pictures with themselves in the book, and we encourage, keep sending them in. You can send them to asklionvoice@gmail, or you can send them into my IG or any of my Facebook platform. Just give me a DM and send them, and we give thanks for them. So we're gonna go into Ethiopian history. Again, we thank all of the new subscribers. We've been getting a steady stream of new subscribers. We give thanks for the support, as the Lion Pride know, and that's what we call, once you subscribe, you're part of the Lion Pride. Once you subscribe, you're part of the Lion Pride. So all of the Lion Pride, as we grow, as we build the strength of the lion, we're going to continue to bring unique content. This is just the beginning. We have massive plans. You can see behind me all of the sticky notes. A lot of planning has been going on at the Bansu headquarters. So just stay tuned. This is only the beginning. But who am I talking about right now? What is this episode about? You already saw in the thumbnail. You already know what you came here to see, so I'm not going to keep you waiting. Today we talk about one of the most legendary of the priestly warrior kings, a man who exemplified what it means to be a priestly warrior king. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Emperor Yohannes IV. So let's go into the history of Emperor Yohannes IV. To do that, we have to go into the early 19th century, or they would have said 18th century. The date that I have in my book and that I cite a source is 1831. When you look online, most sources say 1837. So all of my scholars, my researchers drop what is the date of Emperor Yohannes IV, Casamercha. A young Casamercha is born in the province of Tigray. And I want to paint a picture for you, because right now we're not talking about modern Ethiopia and modern time. I want you to transport yourself. Let's take the Lion Voice time machine and transport ourselves into an ancient land, African land. But on top of that, a land that is coming straight out the pages of the Bible. If you want to see how the Ethiopians live, that's the closest representation that you can see when you read the Old Testament in the Bible. The land was divided into kingdoms. One of the most powerful of those kingdoms was Tigray, close to the border, sea coast, the Eritrean sea coast. That was all once part of the same region, same people. You have this region, which claims the leadership in this region claims descent from the Solomonic dynasty. It is from this region that Casamercha is born, and he's born into nobility. So he's born to the ruling class of the land, Tembian, the part of Tigray where he is from. His father was a nobleman. His mother traced her lineage back to the great Zer Yaakov. And we're gonna do an episode of Lion Voice on Zer Yaakov. I plan to cover the Ethiopian kings, because I have a lot of the history in the book, and it'll come out more as I write future volumes, because this is just the beginning, and we're going to improve upon this work. Even though I give thanks for all of the love that the work has been given, we're going to improve on this work. So we're painting a picture. We're in Ethiopia, in this ancient region, and right now we have a young Casamercha who's growing up in nobility, learning the things that nobles learn. But guess what? There is worry in Tigray. Why? Because another priestly warrior king has risen up and is ruling and is conquering with his army, which is second to none in the land. The word is coming in, the traders who are traveling from province to province with their wares, the arms sellers, all of the people who are moving and shaking are coming with the word. Emperor Tewodros is on the march. He's coming to Tigray. War drum off a beat. Now, war is imminent, and Tewodros would not be defeated. Tigray fell. Casamercha was taken captive, as was the custom of the time, being of Solomonic blood line. You did not kill these noble offspring, because again, these are all family, they're warring. But again, just like the British royals, even though World War II, World War III, World War I and II are happening, you have cousin against cousin, all of these things. So Ethiopia, the nobility, that's how they move. So he was taken captive with his brothers, Gugsa Mercha and Manu Mercha. And he grew up in the court, and this is where he would have met the nobles from all the other regions, because as Tewodros conquered, he captured the sons and the daughters of the nobles, and he had them in his royal court at Magdala, learning about government, learning about Ethiopia. He was inculcating them with a vision of a united Ethiopia. Tewodros was a man with a vision. Again, he had dreams of marching the armies of Ethiopia to Jerusalem to liberate it from the Islamic forces. That's how serious these men were. They wanted to prepare for the coming of Yeshua, the second coming. This is the thinking. So we have to understand. Now, he was taken captive, living as a captive until Tedros decided now that he had learned enough, and once he received allegiance, then he allowed him to return to Tigray to govern with his brothers, and he was given the title of Balambaras, and that title means that a commander. So he was basically the commander of Tigray for Emperor Tedros. So he was carrying out the will of Emperor Tedros. It was during this time that the angel of death visited Casamercha. He fell gravely ill. He thought he was going to die. And this incident was to shape him, because he's vowed to himself and said that if I survive this, I'm going to check into a monastery and become a monk and give my life to the Creator. Well, he was spared, and he did not go to the monastery because the other nobles in the area saw that this young man had the potential, the demeanor to potentially lead Tigray. Because remember, Tigray now becomes a vassal of the might of Emperor Tedros and his army, one of the greatest army, never lost a battle on the battlefield, an open battlefield. Tedros army. He was too important to become a monk, basically. So instead of becoming a monk, he vowed to himself that he would not take revenge on his enemies or accumulate wealth for himself. He gave himself to his mother Ethiopia. He would soon fall out with Emperor Tedros II. He would soon fall out with Tedros II. And he had his own aspirations, surely. When Emperor Tedros imprisoned the Abuna, that gave him their reason. And remember that at this time, Tedros is becoming increasingly cruel. He's trying to crush rebellions. He doesn't understand why the people don't see his vision. There are some reports that he had syphilis, he was going mad. The disease had reached an advanced stage, and this was affecting his judgment. We'll go in depth and give big up all of the subscribers, everyone who has watched the Emperor Tedros episode. That's the first in the Priestly Warrior Kings series that I did. It's one of the most consistently performing videos on the channel. And I just want to big up also the Do Rastafari Celebrate Christmas episode is now the #1 performing video on the channel. You look at the numbers, they're modest, but we look at all of these metrics to see what the Lion Pride is vibing with and what type of content that we want to create. So let's just do some quick housekeeping. First and foremost, I have to thank the Lion Pride. If you subscribe to the channel, you are a part of the Lion Pride. If you subscribe, you're a part of the Lion Pride. So we have to big up the Lion Pride. We're gonna build a Patreon. Keep saying that, and we have content over there. So definitely go check out the Patreon. We have merchandise. We have the music. We're gonna be documenting. We're getting ready to launch. This is what I really want to talk about. We're getting ready to launch the interview series. So you can see the year in review. We had some powerful interviews. So go back and watch Beware, Iyala, Van San, Son. We had Bomani Arma, Mr. Reader Book, and so much more. But now we are getting ready to launch the Lion Talk Show. So this is really, the interviews. We're gonna break it off every other Monday. We'll be dropping a new interview on all different topics. Think about Rastafari. Think about Joe Rogan style reasoning for those who know about Joe Rogan from a Rastafari perspective. So we're gonna get into the culture, different things that you don't hear on other platforms. Intelligent reasoning, the building of heaven on earth. All of these things are gonna be a part of it moving forward, and solutions and building a new world, the alternative to Babylon. This is the Solution Channel. So we're gonna talk to people. We're gonna find out about interesting people. But that's gonna be the Lion Talk Show. So set your dial for January 16th. First episode, we have Rastafari, who is the lead singer, lead vocalist of the biggest reggae band here in the Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia area, DMV. So we're going to have him on the first episode, but we have many, many more interviews coming. This is another way that I can highlight the network, showcase I'm on Superpower, which is the network. So we have so much more coming on that platform. So again, lock in, spread the word. The Lion Talk Show is coming, and we have so much more content. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, hit the share, hit the notification bell, become part of the Lion's Pride. Let us build. We are going to be telling the stories that nobody else wants to tell. And with the resources, we're going to get these stories made into movies, animation, video games, all of those things that we know are the bedrock of culture, creative content. And so watch us as we build this ecosystem. Join us, metrics, to see what the Lion Pride is vibing with and what type of content that we want to create. So I ultimately want to see these things made into films, animated movies, and the Almighty willing, I'm going to bring it to fruition. I'm an actionist. These are long-term plans, so please don't ask me next year, But the book is the first step, documenting. So if you want to support these works, again, this is where it starts. You can support the channel, see the uprising, but I guarantee you're gonna see it, because those who know I'm on don't really quit. I don't really cease. But we're getting forward to the mission. All right. So he broke with Emperor Tedros. Casamercha ends up becoming a rebel. Breaking from the crown. Tedros sends his armies against him, but guess what happened now? The armies fall sick on the journey. The numbers are decimated. So Casamercha sees this as a sign that the Almighty is with him. He gets more emboldened. Rebellion continues. He's raiding, interrupting, doing the things that rebels do. So Tedros marches again against Tigray. Plague hit him again. Trouble. So of course now this reinforces that the Almighty is with this young upstart Casamercha, once captive in the royal palace of Bagdala, and now fugitive from the crown, a rebel, but he's becoming a legend in Tigray. He's controlling all of Tigray. All of the people who rise in Tigray, he's going and crushing them. Not talk from Tedros at this point, as we would say in Jamaica. It is at this time that Tedros II makes a wrong move, gets into a conflict with Queen Victoria, and the infamous Napier expedition is launched. Henry Morgan Stanley, one of the demons of the colonial age, is on this mission along with war elephants. The British spared no expense. to take down Tedros, who famously shot himself rather than be taken captive. But what the British conveniently leave out of this story is that war elephants or not, they would have not been able to do anything. They would not have gotten far had it not been for their alliance that they forged with Casamercha. And the British were in touch with Menelik as well, who had also escaped by this time. And you know, the Tedros' reign was coming down. He was not making wise decisions at this time. You know, the cruelty erased some of the goodwill that he had garnered in earlier days. And so he did not have the support of the people. He was isolated, still winning on the battlefield, but ultimately could not win the hearts and the minds of the people. So Casamercha strikes a deal with the British, and as a result, escorts that Napier expedition right up to Tedros Gate. So they don't talk about that. In return, you know, for him not harassing the British or fighting against the British, because the Ethiopians were known for coming together, being unconquered. So this Napier expedition could not have happened without Casamercha, and the British would have been slaughtered had they faced the full force of Ethiopia at that time. That being said, in return, he's left with all of the arms and the things that the British, so cannons. So basically, once the British leave this expedition, Casamercha is in charge of the greatest artillery arsenal in the land, in addition to what his troops and forces took from Tedros' palace, now that Tedros was not there. So Casamercha now steps in to become the number one. However, two other people saw things different. Emperor Menelik, who at the time had already declared himself King of Kings, and future Emperor Tekle Gyargis. He also crowned himself as King of Kings, and he would test out his might against Casamercha. You know, when a man said, "Oh, them man there," and then his advisor said, "You know, say them man they have some machine around there, you know, far right." And the man said, "Oh, them man there, we are going to deal with them man there, wait." Well, he did try, and he was conquered. Emperor Yohannes proved himself. Casamercha proved himself, and subsequently was crowned on January 21st of 1892 as the King of Kings of Ethiopia, and took the title of the King of Zion. So when you hear us talk about Zion on earth, heaven on earth, this is a concept that not unique or original. Ethiopia declared itself as Zion, the home of the Ark of the Covenant, and the throne of David. So this was part of the legacy, and again, these emperors, the priestly warrior kings, embodied what it meant to be from the line of Solomon, and representing that with blood on the battlefield. So don't care what a guy wants to say that your history is a mythology, tell him to defend it, and these priestly warrior kings defended it on the battlefield. So they had the right to tell their own story, unconquered. Emperor Yohannes defeated the Egyptian army twice. The Ottoman Empire, another major superpower, invaded Ethiopia twice. They were controlling in Sudan, they controlled Eritrea at the time. The ports, defeated terribly on the battlefield by Emperor Yohannes and his great general Rasta Lula. And we'll do an episode on Rasta Lula, Turk Basha, who, and we have to also mention, let me please mention that now, in the current tribalized climate in Ethiopia, a lot of these things are politicized. We're coming from the history from a Pan-African perspective. We know that there's conflict between Tigray and Shawa. There was conflict then that was represented by Emperor Yohannes Menelik, so that's nothing new. We know about the Oromo struggle. That's nothing new. What we want to talk about or to showcase are these legendary figures who, in the midst of the scramble for Africa, made a stand that Europe had to respect. All of these European powers who came together at the Berlin Conference had to respect, because these leaders, reasoned with them as equals, not as vassals, and saw themselves as such. So we have to look at them in that greater Pan-African context. Emperor Yohannes was very infamous for forced conversion of Muslims. In fact, Muhammad Ali, who would become Ras Mikael, the father of Lijayasu, was converted to Christianity because of Emperor Yohannes. You either had to convert or you lost your titles as nobilities. So the province of Wollo, a lot of the nobility in Wollo in particular, had to convert to Christianity in order to retain their power, and many of them did so. So he created a lot of enemies by his treatment of his Islamic subjects in the land. And remember, Ethiopia had a historic bond with Islam. Prophet Muhammad sent his early followers to Ethiopia for refuge to the Christian king, the Negus. So that relationship between the Christian king and the Islam, it was always supposed to be peaceful. When you read my book, you see it was a turbulent relationship over the years, and Emperor Yohannes was one of those leaders that ruffled a lot of feathers and created some of that religious tension. And a lot of the Muslim people in Ethiopia were Oromo people. So there's all of these nuance, but again, we look at the whole Pan-African context and the scramble for Africa and these leaders' position in there. So we want to just make that clear. Big up my Ethiopian family. Now, this contention with Islam, would, as history sometimes does, history makes a point, and this is where the cinematic, nature of the story comes, because yes, he was not, he did not allow his Muslim subjects the religious freedom, and he ended up paying for it, because he met his death at the hands of the infamous and the legendary Mahdi of Sudan, killed in battle, beheaded. His head was actually paraded through Sudan to the Muslim tribes. However, he did defend Ethiopia. He died on the battlefield as an emperor. I think he's the last head of state to die on the battlefield, last king to die on the battlefield, last emperor to die on the battlefield while being emperor, sitting on the throne, leading his armies. So again, this is the warrior, marching into battle. What his son did not succeed him. Emperor Menelik II would take power following his death. I go into more detail in the book so you can read all of these things, but we just wanted to take the time to highlight Emperor Yohannes IV Casamercha. We also want to talk about the priestly part of his trad, because during his time he had the Council of Boro, where all of the church leaders came to really clarify the doctrine of the Ethiopian church. And he spent a lot of time petitioning the church in Alexandria to send an Abuna, and he struggled, with that, getting that representation and the Abuna. and really spent a lot of time in trying to fix the church and unify the church within the country. The work of a high priest as the emperor. So again, the priestly warrior king ruling on the throne of King David, coming from that Solomonic lineage. On this episode, we remember Emperor Yohannes IV. What do you know about Emperor Yohannes IV? Leave a comment. Let's have the discussion. Let's be respectful. I know this is a trigger for some people. Some of my Ethiopian been reaching out, with the comments. So we give thanks. Let us have the discussion. Rastafari family, drop your comments. And again, support the story. We want to see these stories made into films, made into animation. We want our youth to learn about these great African leaders who defended Africa, Ethiopia. Emperor Yohannes is one of the great reasons. We talk about the Battle of Dagali, where the Italians were also slaughtered during his reign by Rasa Lula, an Italian battalion. These were people who fierce in the defense of the borders of Ethiopia. A patriot to the concept of an unconquered Ethiopia. And Ethiopia again preserves that African heritage of being a land that was never conquered or colonized. And so this is why so many African flags have red, gold and green in it. We have to know that Emperor Yohannes, we cannot forget these heroes, controversial as they may be, complicated as their history may be. They are part of the legacy of the priestly warrior kings. And I take great pleasure in bringing these stories to the people, because the time has come for the lions to tell our own story. And this is the Lion's Voice.
Lion Voice. Well, the leaders of the world have failed in their responsibility to lead the youths them to a brighter future. Well, I and I hail the conquering line of the tribe of Judah, Earth's rightful ruler. I just the way Rastafari crowd, unconquerable. Me come to tell them now about Babylon, they're falling down. Tafari dismantle you. Me come to tell them about the way Rastafari crowd. Unconquerable. Me come to tell them about Babylon, they're falling down. Tafari dismantle you. Me come to tell them about Holy Palace intrigue, infighting between Solomon seed. Well, Empress Title want her family to lead. Well, King Michael want him son to lead, but King Michael now watch the orphan married to him niece, who get up every day and a study and a read. He work and he pray every day. He achieve. Them say you're the leader. Every nation need a just the way Rastafari crown. Unconquerable. Me come to tell them about Babylon, they're falling down. Tafari dismantle you. Me come to tell them about the Rastafari crown. Unconquerable. Me come to tell them about Babylon, they're falling down. Tafari dismantle you. Well, Ras Michael, son was having a good time when he should mind the affairs of the state, cause he's descent from the great line of Menelik II. But he's stepping on toes of his elders, treat his women like hoes. He exposed, now be working with the Ottoman Turks. Say he's descending from Muhammad, but that's not how this works. See, the crown was anointed by the Orthodox Church. So if you are ruling as I don't have to put Christ first. I just the way Rastafari crown. Unconquerable. Me come to tell them about Babylon, they're falling down. Tafari dismantle you. Me come to tell them about the way Rastafari crown. Unconquerable. Me come to tell them about Babylon, they're falling down. Tafari dismantle you. Then Ras Michael find out him son was was excommunicated. He didn't care, him and Rastafari related. Army activated, hey yo, war drum beat. And now alone every warrior pass straight. They march to the capital, nah skin teeth. Them say your problems from them and Tafari meet. When them look up in the sky, war planes first on them seat. Also them start fear Tafari name in the street.